Welcome to Exploitation Reviews and me, Rob, and today, very special guest, Josiah Howard, the author of Blaxploitation Cinema, the Essential Reference Guide. Josiah, thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
I'm honored to be here, Rob. I'm a big fan of your channel and your reviews, and I'm happy to be a guest.
Thank you, thank you. I thought, our main topic today, since you are the expert, will be Blaxploitation Cinema. And I thought it might be interesting here at the beginning, what makes a blaxploitation film a blaxploitation film? How are these different from what was happening in the 60s with Sidney Poitier films, for example?
So, pardon me, great question. Blaxploitation films are a Black take on white Hollywood films. And it was the first time that we kind of saw that. Black films were always niche films until 1970, when a film called Cotton Comes to Harlem was released. It was a giant hit with both Black and white audiences, and it's a comedy. And so it hipped Hollywood to the idea that, oh, Black films can be more than niche films, they can be mainstream films. So after that success, the floodgates opened. It's followed by, of course, a Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, and Shaft reintroducing the Black man as the main character in the film. What was different about a Black man being a main character, we had Sidney Poitier in the 60s, he was the main character of many films, Oscar winner, was these Black men and women were sexy. They were sexy. Mr. Poitier was not allowed to be sexy, he had to be angelic because he was the first. So we have young, sexy Black men and women that are on screen, and they're doing it for themselves. They're fashionable. They do what young people do. They drive fancy cars, wear great clothes, have a lot of sex, love music. So it was a lot of fun. So blaxploitation films are different than the other films that came before. A, because they're mostly Black cast. B, they're made first for Black audiences and not white audiences. If white audiences come, great, but they're made for Black audiences. And C, they show young people in their own milieu, in their own neighborhoods. The films also give a tour, I talk about this all the time, of American cities. And so it's entertaining to me as looking at the characters, as looking at their streets and looking at their neighborhoods. So they really did open up a window into Black culture at that time.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of Shaft. That's a wonderfully photographed film, and it's so nice to watch it today and see, New York in the 70s.
Yes.
And similar with Black Caesar. There you get to see even some of like the run down parts of Harlem and stuff, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. There's a film coming to market, Solomon King. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, that was on my list of questions, actually. I wanted to ask you about Solomon King.
Yeah, so it was found in a garage. Mr. Sal Watts, who directed, produced, and stars in it, his wife is still with us, and she discovered it and gave an interview about that. And of course, presented it to Deaf Crocodile Films, and they're bringing it to market in Blu-ray in December, and wrote the booklet. I just mentioned that because when you talk about the travelogue, that's a travelogue of LA, so we just talked about the travelogue of Harlem in the 70s. This is LA in 1974, in the poor neighborhoods, Watt, and the other places, the nightclubs, the culture. It's so much fun because here on the East Coast, I'm in New York, our Black ghettos are very different than the West Coast, because first of all, they have sunshine all the time. So the clothing is different, and the cars are different, and the attitude is different. They're a little bit more laid back than New Yorkers because, they got all that nice weather out there. Right. So fun. So Solomon King's coming to market, and that's an LA blaxploitation film, which is a lot of fun.
That's cool. There were some LA blaxploitation films before too, weren't there? Wasn't Trouble Man in LA?
Yes, there are a few of them in LA.
Right. What was the horror film? Dr. Black, Mr.
Blackula.
Hyde? No, the The Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde one.
Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde.
Right. Yeah. That was also Watts, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Very good. Good memory. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're not the only expert here, Josiah.
No. One of the great things is that when I travel and talk about the films, there's always someone, like I was in the Netherlands, and there was maybe he was 24 or 25, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, young man who corrected me during a speech. And I love it. You knowing this stuff way over here. You weren't even alive. Right. So it's kind of fun. Yeah.
It is fun. Yeah, I guess I was, technically I was alive for the end of it. I mean, Blaxploitation ended about 79.
Yeah. I say 80, but a lot of people say 76. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? So early?
Yeah, they're just, the other ones are kind of the stragglers, not very popular anymore, but still they're Blaxploitation films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What were some of the late entry ones? I'm trying to remember.
79.
Maybe something like Sheba Baby, or that was
Sheba's a little earlier, but
that was earlier. Okay.
I think it's 76.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's some Rudy Ray Moore makes one in 79, and maybe it's a Disco Godfather.
Oh yeah, that could be where he tried to get like a PG rating or something.
Yeah, where they're trying to be a little more accessible.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. That one, I love Rudy Ray Moore, but that one doesn't quite work for me.
In doses, yes.
Yeah. Definitely prefer the Dolomite ones. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Right. One thing that seems to play a role in Blaxploitation cinema is the role of the Black Power movement. Was that like a bigger theme, or does it just happen to be the movies that I like?
Yes, so good point. The Black Panther Party endorsed Sweetback's Badass Song. Not only did they endorse it, it was required viewing for people who wanted to be members of the Black Panther Party. So a lot of things are happening at once. Black Power movement, Black is Beautiful movement, the Black Panther Party. It just was a fun time, and it was happening simultaneously, and it was great. It was really great. I came to the films very young, as a preteen. In my neighborhood, I grew up in New Jersey here. There were two theaters, one called the Strand and the Liberty, and it was a Black neighborhood. And they would change the films every week. And this little boy, who had a little afro then, I wasn't bald like this, would wait outside the theater each week, each Monday, to see them change the posters. So I became obsessed with the posters. I remember asking if I could have them. They said, no, they have to be returned with the film. But really early, I was obsessed with the images on the post. I couldn't see the films. No one would bring me. I was too young. But I was obsessed with the images and the people. And I was seeing people that looked like me. Not Black doctors or clergymen like Mr. Portier, but young Black people in bell bottoms with afros and picks in their hair. So it was a validation, a visual validation for me, very young. That's kind of how I got hooked.
Do you remember the first one that you saw in the theater?
I do. I was too young to see it, but don't you know, a babysitter, a teenager, teenagers are going to do what teenagers do.
Yeah.
Me and a couple other kids that she was babysitting to see, was it Blackula? It was Blackula. And I was terrified.
Yeah, William Marshall's pretty scary, yeah.
Terrified. And I'm going to correct myself, Rob, I'm sorry. Blackula was the second one. The first one I saw was Coffy.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
So, and I tell the story, first of all, I had never seen anyone nude. I hadn't seen a nude adult. I hadn't seen drug culture, intravenous drug use. We didn't curse in our house. I hadn't heard that kind of language. Didn't really see violent acts. It was a shock to my system. And it really marked me. And that's why it's my number one favorite film. I mean,
it's one of mine too. I just love that film.
Why do you like it, Rob? What do you like about it?
So it probably has to do with my politics, being like a pretty left-wing kind of guy. I am I'm really drawn to revenge stories because for me, they kind of represent society failing certain groups. And I like the idea that when society fails people, they can get some justice even without these sort of societal structures. And yeah, so that's a really great revenge film. I like revenge films in general, so that one hits me pretty hard. Yeah.
And vigilante justice is okay with you?
Well, I don't want to get in trouble, but I'll just say in the world of fiction, I like it a lot. Yeah.
Yes, it's satisfying.
It is so satisfying. Yeah.
That one I love because it's the female take on what had happened before. So that's 73, and Sweetback and Shaft were 72. So this is let's do it, but now it's going to be a woman. So that's fascinating to me because women move through the world differently. So she can get into places and trick people in a way that a man never would. She can just act dumb and sexy. And that's not going to work for a man. So it's fun to see her negotiate the underworld and, as you say, come out the winner.
Right. Yeah. And there's the script in that is so great too. There's so many wonderful lines, these kind of like bombastic lines that, some male stars would have in the 80s, but,
yes,
Pam Grier is saying this badass stuff in the 70s, it's so great.
It's really great. I'm blessed to have Jack Hill wrote the foreword to our book, and I'm in communication with him. He sent me his original script, a copy, of course.
Oh,
and
wow.
there are some great scenes that are not in that film.
Oh.
So that's a lot of fun to see. Oh, they cut that out there. But yes, that's his favorite film. We've done so much work, Foxy Brown the next year, 74. But Coffy's his favorite. And he said that many of the lines Pam Grier made up herself. Because he said, I was just a white dude making films and I had no information about inner city Black culture. She did. And she said, no, this is what a Black girl would say in this situation. So great lines, like you say, but wasn't it fun that Pam made some of them herself?
That's great. Yeah.
He loved her. He really did promote her very, very much.
Yeah, she was she was the first big superstar in the blaxploitation movement.
Yes.
You're right. Yeah.
And she's a lasting one because there was Tamara Dobson, who was Cleopatra Jones, a model turned actress. But Pam is who we remember the most. She was the most dynamic. She's not always the greatest actress. I say this sometimes, but it doesn't matter. She's the greatest star. She's the greatest star. She's magnetic on screen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. I mean, acting wise, yeah, okay. I mean, a lot of these films, the acting could be better, but who cares?
Yeah.
Stars on the screen.
Yeah. She's a star. That you point to that person, that's the star.
Right.
Her acting's off.
Yeah. And then in the follow-up, Foxy Brown, I mean, how many outfit changes did she have in that film?
Yes. Now, Rob, which is your favorite, Coffy or Foxy Brown? Because most people like Foxy Brown.
Coffy, definitely Coffy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think the plan was originally for Foxy Brown to be a sequel to Coffy, and I kind of wish that had happened.
Me too.
But as it is now, Coffy, definitely my favorite. It has my favorite lines, especially at the beginning when she's got the shotgun on the...
That's good.
Oh, it's so good. And she's like, he wasn't afraid because he didn't know it was going to happen, but you're
going to be afraid. It's good. So now imagine seeing that at 10.
Yeah.
Seeing that at 10, I was, really, really just out of my mind looking at that.
Yeah, I imagine. That was before I was around. I guess I'm a little bit younger than you.
You're not around at 73, no.
No. Born at the very end of 76, so. Yeah.
Copy, but you still got your feet in it because that's still a good time,
Yeah, exactly. And then, with DVDs and stuff, you can always discover this stuff later. And I think I saw... it was a while before I saw Coffy, but even as a kid in the 80s, some of these films would play on TV. I remember watching like Car Wash and Cooley High. I think those were,
Yes,
I think I saw those as a kid.
those are the PG ones. So that
Yeah,
they're
exactly. Yeah. 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 The R ones I didn't discover until later.
yeah. When you could buy them.
Yeah, or rent them. I spent a lot of time renting.
Oh, the years of renting. Yes.
Yeah.
Seems like so long ago, but that's how I was really excited too when you could rent things.
Speaking of Pam Grier and Tamara Dobson, what do you think about the role of women in blaxploitation films? Do you think this was overall like a positive? Are they feminist? Do you think these films, some of them?
I do, and that was written about at the time. It was women taking power and taking control of their own lives and doing it their own way, and saying no instead of yes. They were really popular. There's TNT Jackson. There's so many others because again, it was women doing what the men were doing, and that was liberating. It was just liberating. You can do exactly what they do. You can be your own boss. You can kick ass, and look at you. You're gorgeous too. So it was a lot of fun. Very feminist. Again, I like that I said that they're gorgeous because the idea was that if you're beautiful, or they were often naked, that you were somehow unempowered. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Right. It's using, like you said before with Pam Grier, she uses what she can to get into places that men couldn't.
Yes, her visual charm. That's a whole different way of moving through the world. And it's just so great. It's just so great. She's got the sawed-off gun in a teddy bear.
Right.
You can't. A man's not going to walk into a place with a teddy bear. You're going to check him.
Exactly. Right.
Fluffy teddy bear and, little mini skirt on, and people don't think she's going to do anything when she's ready to blow up heads off and beat ass.
And then is it in Foxy Brown where she pulls the little revolver out of her afro?
Yes.
That's so great too.
So fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
When I talk, Rob, women often ask if the women were being exploited because they were often topless. The men weren't. Men were never bottomless. And I have spoken to Pam and some of the others, and of course to the directors who can speak more freely because they're not the nude person. We'll say what Jack Hill said. He said they loved it. The women that I photographed without their clothes on loved it. Pam, he said, let's get the pictures now. I'll never look better. So actors are exhibitionists, just like singers and just like other people. So they did not have a problem with being nude, these young, beautiful women. And that was a surprise. I like to hear that, so we can relax and say, no, she's being exploited. No, she's fine with it. She knows she's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that too. Yeah. Although I'm not surprised. I mean, when many of these films, they're obviously comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah. And there's no regrets. There's no regrets. A lot of them are still with us. No regrets. No, I look good.
Yeah, and they did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You were talking before about how these films were made for Black audiences, but I'm wondering, some of them did have wider appeal. Do you think this wider appeal helped with, say, like, opening white people's eyes to what was going on? Did this help with race relations in the States at all?
So I don't think the films help with race relations because they're entertainments. But I do know for a fact that white people went to the films. So Shaft and Superfly were #1 films in America, meaning that white audiences were going. Any film that's #1 means that white people are seeing it. Superfly knocked The Godfather out of the #1 spot, meaning that it was the film that more people were going to than The Godfather for 1 week. But it was always #2 for 1 week. More people were going to see Superfly than The Godfather. Incredible achievement. And it's
incredible. Yeah.
White people were going. They were fascinated by the images too. They were on buses and billboards. They were everywhere. These pictures of Black folks in great clothes with guns and shooting people up. So it was a phenomenon, not just a motion picture movement, but a phenomenon. And everybody wanted a piece of it. You know, you wouldn't be cool as a white person if you hadn't seen one of the films, because it's what everybody talked about in the office, at school, wherever you were. So you had to see one. And yes, it really did bring in the white audiences as well. If you're bringing in millions and millions, it's all profit. And that's why there were more than 250 made in 10 years, because it's a small investment and you're going to make your money back.
Yeah, that's a good segue with the 250 there. I'm very curious about the research phase of your book. How did you find all of the movies to include here? That's part one of my question. And part two is you wrote little synopses, reviews of all of them. Some of them must have been very difficult to get your hands on. Any interesting stories there?
Yes, so Rob, I'm a nerd. I'm an only child. I was an only child who was always making lists and looking at names and times and numbers. So that came in handy. It's an inclination I have when I was doing this. Yes, so many of the films were obscure. I'm blessed to have lots of blaxploitation friends around the world and fans of the genre who sent me many films, bootleg. That's how I got those. But I really loved doing the research because it's an inclination. I had done already a bunch of it before I even thought about writing a book. So writing a book comes after college. But I had always had lists and notebooks about casts and pictures and posters. So I had all the ephemera. And then one day I said, well, why don't I attempt to write a book? And it just kind of came to pass. And I just continued. I said, well, let's review 100 films. So I did that. And I said, oh, well, let's do 200. And I did that. Same with the directors. When I talked to the directors, I said, well, let me talk to two directors, a couple directors. And then I said, no, let's make it 10. And then I did 10. And then we went on and with the actors and things. So you start small. Again, I'm revealing my process to myself. I make lists and then I expand them. So I'm going to do 5 of this, and then you say, oh, that's done. Let's continue rather than stop at 5. That's kind of how the book came to pass. Thrilled with Fab Press's work on it. They found posters I had not seen. I can remember one called Force 4. It's a karate blaxploitation hybrid. I had seen the film, but I've seen the poster art. And so they're just as committed and just as big a fan. And again, they're not even in America. This is an American phenomenon. And so that the British, in their case, would love them as much and be as interested is fascinating and wonderful to me. It really is.
That's really cool. Yeah. I didn't know they were British.
Yeah, it's a British publisher. And, the American publishers turned it down.
Yeah, that's surprising.
So what's that about? So I'm really, really thrilled with the work. And, we're in a 4th printing, so it keeps coming out. Mm-hmm. New cover of you have the old cover. You have the, what do they call it? Not original. What's that word they use?
The OG.
Yes. See, you know what I'm thinking?
That's right. I got first edition.
Yeah, we got them both up. And this is great because it's updated and it's hardback and it's a great one. Yeah, so they keep putting it out and we're real happy.
And it's used in university courses around the country too, right?
Yeah, so when I talk, the kids say, well, how do you write a book that's going to be a textbook? Because, that's where you make the money. You have to buy it to take the course. I say, you don't write a book that's going to be a textbook. You write what you like to write about. I always tell the kids, don't write what you don't like because people can tell you don't like it. So write what you like about. I love the films and you can tell. And I've written a few celebrity biographies. I love those celebrities and you can tell. So don't write what you don't like. Write what you like and everything will come to you.
Yeah, yeah, that's an excellent point about writing in general. I mean, you can, yeah, the passion comes through the page. You can see it.
Yes, it really does. And it's not something I thought about because I didn't think this would happen. I didn't think it would be a textbook. But looking back, it's just that I did it with genuineness. I was genuine about it.
Were there any directors or people otherwise involved in blaxploitation cinema that you wanted to get in the book but couldn't for whatever reason?
Yes, good question. So the first person you would go to if you were writing a book on blaxploitation would be Gordon Parks, the director's chef. Contacted him. He didn't get back to me the first time. Contacted him a second time. His assistant put him on the phone. He said, Mr. Howard, I'm not at all interested in your book. I believe it's called Blaxploitation Cinema. Shaft is not a blaxploitation film. It's a Black action film. It's a film with Black actors performing action. Don't like the word, the title, it's disrespectful. And thank you very much for calling.
Wow.
So I would have, yes, he was adamant about it. And so I would have loved to have Gordon Parks in the list of directors I talked to, but he was unhappy with the term blaxploitation, as a lot of people are. What do you think of the term, Rob?
I think the term is fine, but because I know, because I have a channel called Exploitation Reviews, I know what exploitation films are. They're just films trying to reach a particular audience, and they're trying to reach it despite a low budget by offering things that normal Hollywood doesn't offer. So blaxploitation, yeah, they're exploitation films targeting a Black audience. Seems like a good fit to me. Yeah, I don't ever think of it as like exploiting Black folks. I think of it as like, trying to get money from a certain audience, which is, that's business. That's cinema.
Exactly. That's how I think of it too. Yeah. I think the whole idea of blaxploitation being offensive is that you're just looking for trouble. You're just looking for something to say. Exploitation is a genre, and blaxploitation is a take on the word. So nobody's being exploited.
Right, exactly. And all of the exploitation subgenres have that sort of portmanteau form. There's hicksploitation and sexploitation and
Nunsploitation.
Yeah, nunsploitation, right.
And Nazi-sploitation.
Oh yeah, so yeah, with Ilsa and some of those. Yeah, Nazi-sploitation, right. I don't want to keep you forever, but maybe we can talk a little bit about, if someone wants to get into blaxploitation films, where do you start them off? Or what are the must-sees? I mean, we talked about Coffy, definitely that one.
So I'm going to want to know your favorites too, but I'll give you the top 5 favorites, and they change. As time goes on, you think, oh, I like this one better. I'm going to push that one up. The Coffy's number 1 because it is everything that blaxploitation is from a woman's point of view. So it's more fun and more interesting. We know how Black men characters navigate the world. We haven't seen how when a woman does it exactly the same way. Number 2 is Superfly. The music soundtrack is insane.
Yeah. Curtis Mayfield. I've been spinning that album for the past 35 years. It's incredible. I knew that way before I knew the movie. Yeah.
Yes, and I love that because a lot of the music has brought comes to people first, and they say, oh, that's a theme from a movie. So Superfly is incredible. I wrote a lengthy piece for the American Library of Congress on that album. Superfly is my number 2 because of the music, because of the beautiful New York locations, and because the underdog, this drug dealer, figures out how to outsmart the mob. So really interesting story.
And the police too, right? Doesn't he also?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And of course, we didn't talk about his clothes. I mean, in his car.
Yeah. Oh, and that car is like, what is this, like this custom Cadillac or something? It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
And, fashion, cars, things that young people like are a big part of each story. The number 1 is Coffy. Number 2 is Superfly. I would throw in one of the horror films, and I'm going to throw in Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde rather than Blackula. Blackula is great. But there are some scenes that I just don't like seeing anymore, and that is the 2 gay characters.
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of gay bashing in that film. The word fag is used a lot, and the two gay interior decorators was the first to go. Is it because they're gay? Probably that was in the back of your mind. So Blackula is great, but I won't choose that as a horror film choice. I'll choose Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde. Insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, I haven't
You
seen
mean
it in a
when
while, but it's cool. Yeah.
when you kill someone, you turn into an albino? Oh,
Right.
so interesting.
I think someone relatively well known did the effects for that too. Is it like Rick Baker or something?
Yes, it's I don't know the name, but yeah, he's somebody who goes on and continues. Third, I'll give Amazing Grace if you like comedies. Have you ever seen that one, Rob?
I haven't seen that one, no.
That's Moms Mabley. She's
Okay.
Yeah, if you know her, she's an older woman. She passes away 3 months after the film is completed, but she's an older Chitlin Circuit comedian, dirty mouth, older Black woman, and this is her film, and really funny, and it's great. I like it more than Cotton Comes to Harlem, the other.
That sounds familiar. Was she ever on Flip Wilson's show?
Yes, she was on everything in the 70s.
Okay, then I think I've probably seen her before.
Kooky old Black woman, you know, sort of like Aunt Esther, but a real comedian. This is how she made her living. And then the fourth, I would go with one called The Guy from Harlem. Have you seen that, Rob?
I think I have seen that one. I'm pretty sure, but it's not popping into my.
It's
I might be confusing it with something else.
It's the dullest, most inept, stupid, unbelievable, and wonderful for all of that. It's Plan 9 from outer space, but a blaxploitation film.
Oh, okay. Yep.
You know, he said, you know, I've got $5,000 for you. It's here. And the guy hands him an empty envelope, a limp empty envelope. So that kind of stuff. You know, the boom mic in the shots, flub lines that aren't corrected. There's no money to refilm the scene. I love that one too. Really, really love it.
Okay, so my top 5 is different from yours. My number 1 is The Spook Who Sat Next to the Door,
which I love.
I love that movie. So great, so slick too. Like very well put together film. Yeah.
It seems modern. The whole theme of it. Yeah.
And I love the story. The writer, he's cool. What's his name? Sam Greenlee, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. He's great writer, great script. The movie is wonderful. My number 2 is Coffy, and it's a close. And depending on the day, it could go either way. Because I know I've definitely seen Coffy more than I've seen The Spook Who Sat Next to the Door. Because when my friends are interested in the kinds of crazy movies I watch, I'm like, well, let's watch Coffy. Like everyone will like that one. Number 3, I might go with, I really like MMA. That's a cool movie. I
haven't seen that in a while. I love that one. Yes.
I really love the family dynamics in that one. Like smoking cigarettes in the kitchen and gossiping with all the moms, as they do their hair and stuff. It's really cool to have those little vignettes into like family life. Yeah.
Is that Jamal Fanaka? Is that him?
That was Jamal Fanaka.
Yeah. When I talked with him for the book, he spoke about that. I don't think he said it was his favorite, but he was really proud of telling a woman's story. And he said that it was modeled after not his mom, but maybe his aunt took care of him. So he did a really good job.
Yeah, I think I was reading about it. I think he did that as his bachelor's thesis film. Mm-hmm. And then I think Penitentiary was his master's thesis film. So the guy had like 2 movies in theaters before he finished going to school. It's
yes,
yeah.
He's a great guy. He was. Yeah.
What number am I? Number 4. I gotta go with a Rudy Ray Moore film. So I'm gonna go with The Human Tornado. It's a lot like the first one, but it has more of what I like. We get to see Rudy doing his stage routine at the beginning and doing the insult crowd work, which is quite nice. And then Yeah, he jumps naked off of the like the balcony or whatever, and there's the freeze frame. The movie's hilarious. And I just love the DIY attitude of Rudy Ray Moore. He's wonderful. Number 5. I should pick a Fred Williamson movie because I like him. Maybe Black Caesar or Boss. Well, I can't say the full name of the movie, but you know, like Boss.
Yeah, Boss N. Yeah,
Nebuchadnezzar. Right. Yes.
got it.
I like westerns. So.
Okay, copy that. Yeah, we didn't mention Fred Williamson, who's just what we said about Pam Grier. He might not be the best actor, but he's the star. That's a movie star. He looks like one, he acts like one. That's a movie star.
Exactly. Yeah, he's big. He's very active. Yeah, he's got just tons of charisma. Yeah. He's got that star swagger.
Yeah, he's great. That's a movie star. Yep. I love one called That Man Bolt. Have you seen that?
Yep, I've seen that one. Yeah.
That's a fun one. Yeah. But I think you're right with Black Caesar. You chose Boss N, but Black Caesar is incredible.
That's really cool. Yeah. I love I love listening to Larry Cohen talk about it. Like, you know, where they didn't have permits, you know, they were filming in Harlem to keep like the unions away and drive up on the sidewalk. It'll be fine. People will get out of the way.
Yeah, it's all stolen shots. And so I love that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. Yeah. Guerrilla filmmaking. Yeah. So how about, so those are good ones to get started. Any what you might call like a hidden gem, like a rarity that not many people know about that you really love?
So I don't think anybody knows about The Guy from Harlem. Please look that up. I do believe it's on YouTube. It's ridiculously bad. My other favorites, hidden ones, well, I'm really excited about this Solomon King. It hasn't been seen since 1974. That was almost 50 years. Thrilled to be a part of it. It's real fun. He's an ex-CIA agent who is charged with finding the killer of a princess who owns oil wells. So complicated story, something to get into. But other gems, I think that most people know them. I love the favorites. I'm a big fan of TNT Jackson, which I think people have seen. That's, can't remember the actress's name. It's not Marky Bay, it's...
I don't remember.
Yeah, but that one I love. A hidden gem, not so hidden, is The Candy Tangerine Man. Have you seen that, Rob?
No, I've heard of it and I've been looking for it, but you know, as hard as it is for you to find some of these things, here in Europe, it's doubly hard.
Oh, Coffy. I forget about that. Yeah. The Candy Tangerine Man is a must. It's extremely violent. It's about a pimp by night and a school teacher by day. He's got some desk job, but at night he becomes this other person, and really violent. It's one of the few blaxploitation films that has gore in it. So it's got some gore violence in it. And that's kind of a hidden gem. I don't think people have heard it. I don't like the title. I remember, I just don't get it. But
I like it. Yeah, it sounds.
You like it?
It sounds like maybe it'd be like a name that like a pimp would take for himself.
Got it. When I spoke to the director, it's Matt Simber. He said it was a take on the Candyman, that pop song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he said so. We didn't want to call it the Candyman, so we called it the Candy Tangerine Man. Still think it's awkward, but I like that you like it. Because it means it works.
It works, yeah. For some people at least, yeah. All right, cool. Tell me a bit about blaxploitation posters. That's an important part of the marketing strategy of exploitation films.
Yes, the posters are insane. They're incredible. And they are what brought me to the genre. Not being able to see the films because I was so young, I was attracted by the posters and would clip them out of the newspapers or magazines when I would see them. A surprise to me is that many of the blaxploitation posters, which are mostly illustrations, are done by Asian Americans.
Oh, wow.
In particular, my favorite is done by an Asian American. How did I learn this? I didn't know it when I wrote the book. Here in New York City, there was a blaxploitation poster exhibition at the Poster Museum. And they had all of that information. I think they chose 20 posters. Of course, there were albums and other ephemera. But yeah, that's a great surprise. And the posters are phenomenal.
But you didn't say what your favorite poster was. Which one is it?
My favorite, so I'm going to give you two. My favorite poster, I'm going to say it, is Trouble Man.
The one with like the mirror?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was fascinated by that, and I remain fascinated by it. It's one of the few that I own. I just love it. I always go back to looking at it. I wanted that for the cover of our book. I was vetoed. Not that I mind the cover that was chosen, but I'm fascinated by the Trouble Man poster. And of course, the second would be Coffy. I just love all that scenery underneath of her, like the bar and the kicking and fighting. Mm-hmm. Love posters. They're so important.
I think the ones I like the most there are quite a few that were bright and cartoony, and those are the ones that I like. Like Cotton Comes to Harlem has a really bright, cartoony poster.
5 on the black hand side you would probably love.
Yeah, Trick Baby has a really cool poster.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Even though I don't like the movie that much, but the poster's cool. The Cleopatra Jones and the Casino of Gold.
That's
I like that poster. Yeah,
they're all gorgeous. Do you have posters on display, Rob, or no?
I do. I don't have any blaxploitation posters up right now. Now in my living room, I have Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. And the Iron Giant. I really love the Iron Giant poster. Yeah.
Got it. You're going to have to tell me about the Iron Giant. I don't know that.
Oh, it was a Warner Brothers animated film from 1999, I believe. Very few people saw it. Warner Brothers didn't market it very well, but it's a wonderful film. It has a really great like anti-gun message, and it came out like when school shootings were becoming like a big thing. It was timed perfectly, and Warner Brothers dropped the ball. But the poster is wonderful, and the movie is wonderful too. Yeah. Highly recommended. Yeah.
Giant, I'm writing it down.
The Iron Giant, very cool movie. Yeah, it takes place during the like Cold War in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it starts with like a shot of like Sputnik going around the Earth, and then the giant crashes, and yeah, it's very cool movie. Yeah,
it sounds great.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's a hidden animated gem. Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you forever. I do want to thank you again for chatting with me. Any upcoming projects you're excited about? I mean, there's the movie that you wrote.
So we got the Solomon King coming. Solomon King is coming to market. I continue to write for the Grindhouse Cinema database.
Me too.
Furious Cinema, so do the reviews for them. Am taking speaking gigs whenever we can. I'm going to talk about the films Blaxploitation 101 at the New School here in New York. That's in December. But we're keeping active with it. We're keeping going. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
And we'll talk again.
Absolutely.
Hey, we'll talk when Solomon King comes out. We'll have something to talk about.
Yeah, let's do that. That sounds great.
Okay. Thank you, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
Bye.